fear itself is God. Enel. I am lightning. No matter how hard they try, mankind can never overcome lightning. Enel.
You can get it. Marvelous.
Yo, what's good? Welcome back to the channel, y'all. And look, I've been having a lot of delinquents, okay? I've been having a lot of delinquents asking me what is the sauce, what is the Shiest List for the Enel gameplay, the Enel Decklist. If you guys did not know and this is your first time on the channel, just based off the wallpaper, we only play Enel. If you take a peep on the channel right now, we only upload Enel gameplay videos when everybody else is playing OP05, OP06. I've been locked into OP07 for the past 3 months, play tested for over 1,000 hours, did some OP07 tournaments, came up on top. Sometimes I lost, it is what it is, but I put in the time, I put in the effort. So let's go ahead and get straight into the builds that I have for you. Before we get into my Shiest List, because my list is shiesty as hell, you probably won't see a list like this anywhere else on the streets. Let's go to the YouTube, pretty much the YouTube rental list. I mean, this is the blockbuster list. This is the David Busters, everybody needs to try to be involved type list. This is the list you'll probably see all over the YouTube streets because nobody's truly testing. They're just grabbing a deck from One Piece top deck, making a video, and then never touching the deck again. So let's go to get straight into it. Enel, best leader in the game, fact not opinion. As you guys see on the screen right now, when your life hits 0, you may add the top card from your deck to your life, then discard 1 card from your hand. So you initially need 3 characters or attacks to really kill you, okay? So it might say 4, but in reality it's really 5 life just based off his ability. This deck is really reactive, okay? I mean, you might have a game plan going into their turn and then you might just get a crazy trigger and just turn the whole entire tide all around. So this deck is very, very reactive. It's casino RNG deck, so if you have some good luck, it's very good deck. And let's go ahead and get straight to the rest of this high end. It's not going to be any gameplay, but there's also going to be a strap for this YouTube rent-a-deck version. So let's go ahead and get straight to it. Flampy, very good card. It thins out your life. The key of this deck is that you really want to get to like around 1 to 2 life, mainly 2, because that's when a lot of things start popping off. That's what allows you to summon off this ace or anything else. Really just aid this ace. If you are running the 5-drop ace, you could possibly abuse this a little bit more, but 4 is what everybody on the YouTube streets is telling you guys to use, so I'm just copying what they're saying at the moment. 4 is very good. You probably want to get to like 1 or 2 life. Just be careful if you keep on using this card to get to 1 life, because if you are playing a rush deck, they could have some rush characters in their hand and you might just lose the game just by accidentally using Flamp too much. There's also a couple of combos you could do with Flamp, like for instance, if you have 2 life and you want to get an extra life and you have a Yamato, you go into this, drop your life down to 1, and then you end up summoning that Yamato, get another life back with a pop on field. So you do got some shiest plays with this. In my opinion, I don't think this should be played at 4, because during the late game, Hiyori is way better of a card. Late game allowing you to put your actually I'll get into it when my shiest list comes up. Flampy, very decent card, ran at 4, and like I said, if you like this YouTube rent a deck type list, then yeah, you're gonna have to pick up 4 of these. Shirahoshi is a hand reshuffler. You usually want to put this on top of your life or try to summon this at 5 cost if your hand is pretty much bricked up, which will probably more than likely happen. You guys have so many high-end cards. There's a high probability you are going to chance for. A lot of times you're either going to be summoning this or ﷺ for a hand reshuffler, and it's a 1k attacker. Okay, so one of the best cards in the deck, especially at a trigger category. A lot of people are asking me, can you play this deck without Katakuri? The answer is no, especially in this meta. Everything is getting stronger. Everything is getting power crept. And if you don't have Katakuri at this time, I just made a market watch video showing you guys that the regular Katakuri version of this card is going down. It's damn near $40. So if you still can't pick this up, then I advise you probably just not to play the deck, because you don't want to play a half-made deck. It's not going to go out too well. So you definitely need this card. It allows you to have some type of board removal. It is an on play. It's an 8-drop with an 8k attack. Allows you, like I said earlier, to have some board removal or to put stuff back in your life. There are a couple shiesty plays that you could do. Maybe turn 5 or turn 6, you go into Shirahoshi, summon that, and then you can summon the Katakuri, put the Shirahoshi back, and then now you have another chance to reshuffle your hand if your hand is extremely bricked up. Katakuri, you're going to be running this no matter what list you run at 4, so make sure you pick this up. The next card that we do have is Capone, probably one of the best counters out of life possible. I mean, a lot of people are even asked for a ban for this card. It doesn't matter what list you run, you're going to be running for this card. Just being able to negate one person's attack, especially late game, is pretty much crucial and game winning. I mean, you guys are going to be seeing a lot more videos on the channel of me playing a Capone. I just drop a Capone late game and I pretty much just win the game. So probably the best trigger out of life. You need 4. Go ahead and pick it up. Another card, the YouTube rent a deck list that everybody's running, is this card. I really don't understand the point of running stuff like this. I mean, Blackbird's not even out yet and people are running stuff with no effects. I would rather use a different card than a 6-drop with no effect. I mean, maybe if Blackbeard does come out and it is a menace, this is something you could probably rotate into. It does have a 1 counter, but at this time, an OP07 and Blackbeard comes out OP09, I feel like there's really no point of running these bigger beaters, because it allows you to pretty much brick turns 1 through 5, 1 through 6. Okay, I'm not a fan of that, but if you do like running the YouTube rent a decks, you can go ahead and tap in and use this. Yamato puts a life back. Very, very good card. I am still running 4 in this YouTube rent a list. Well, me personally, I'm not running 4, but the rent a list is using 4. Being able to pop something on field based off how much life the opponent and you have together is very, very good. Very, very good. Board removal, 9k to attack, and it's almost a staple no matter which list you are running. But just the fact that they're running 4 on top of 4 on top of 4 on top of 2 on top of 3, you're just asking for your deck to get bricked up, and I've experienced it myself throughout my play testing. So like I said earlier, if you guys do want to play this deck with all these big beaters, you can do it, but I'm telling you, you're going to be bricking up a lot. Next card we have is ﷺ, best 5-drop in the deck. Fact, not an opinion. When it's your turn 5 turn, more likely you're going to be able to pop anything that they have on the field with a 4-drop or less. Very, very good. Using a Nami pop, this card is really good, especially in the mirror, because it does have that banish effect. Enel really struggles against itself in the mirror if they can drop this card and start attacking underneath banish, because if you take away their banish, you take away their pretty much their life and also their hand advantage, and they really thrive off of their cards coming out of the life with the trigger. So if you can establish some Namis on board to get the banish off, this could really cripple an Enel player. Trust me, there's a couple times Yamato summoned that, their banished characters on me, and I almost lose, or I've lost a couple games due to that. Very, very good card in the mirror, and just a very, very good card in general out of life, being able to pop a 5 cost or lower. This affects pretty much almost every single deck, like RP Law, Dofi, Boa, anything that does not protect. So if you're not playing against Black, Yellow, Luffy, or Rob Lucci, this Onami card is actually very, very good. I don't know about running 4, but like I said, this is a YouTube rented deck, what everybody else is going to be talking about, so that's the reason why it's there. So Frankie is the next card we're going to be discussing. Frankie is probably one of the best cards in the deck. It replaces Satori, so if you are dibbling with your deck coming from OP06 or EBO1, Frankie literally just replaces a Tori in every single way. If you have 2 life and this is your second card going into life and you have 1 life left, not only it's a free special summon without discarding a card, so you keep your hand advantage, you also get another draw as well. And just beside its triggers effect, it is just a base 2k in your hand as well. So very, very good card. That's why I said it's a buffed up version of Satori. You always want to be running 4, and this is the only card, one of the main cards that I know that is always still the same in this list and my Shiest list that we're going to be talking about in just a little bit. Next card we have is the 2 Monkey D. Luffy's. This is also the same in my list compared to this list. Monkey D. Luffy is all very, very good, being I have a chance to pop anything on the field with a 4 cost or less. More than likely you're going to be summoning this, getting rid of some blockers. It is a 1k counter, and out of life, if you do see this out of life, you get to pop another 4 cost or less character on your opponent's side of the field. So it's pretty much an Onami, just the only difference is that it's a 5 drop if you guys do want to spot remove anybody, and it's a 6k counters as well. So even if you don't want to pop anything and just use it for an attack, you can also do that as well. Very, very good card. The next card we have is Ace, probably the biggest addition that this Enel deck is going to be getting. No matter which list you will be running, you will always be running 4 Enel. Fact, not an opinion. On play, if you have 2 or less life, you can gain a life, and then it also gains Rush. One of the best cards in this deck, to be real with y'all. It really is just one of the best cards in the deck. There's really no replacement for it. If you guys can't get this card, then more than likely you should not be playing it in the OP07 meta. You're pretty much hindering yourself, putting yourself at a disadvantage. Another card a lot of people like on the high end is the Charlotte Linden. My opinion about Charlotte Linden is the fact that, you know, a lot of times I just end up bricking on this card. I mean, I don't like giving the opponent to choose to give me a life or to take a life, because they have a life. If they have a lot of life and I'm running low on life, right, and they just take their life, I'm pretty much almost screwed. Okay, you pretty much are hoping they choose what you want them to choose, and I don't want to put myself in a predicament like that. I'd rather have something more sturdy. Okay, I'm a sturdy motherfucker, and I don't want anybody choosing anything on their end. I want it to be in my game state. Linden's a decent card. I feel like it's better in slower metas. The metas that we're in with RP Law and all these other cards or decks out there like Blue Luffy or Boa, where they just spam out monsters, I feel like you need something to adjust to that speed, and especially since there's a high probability of you bricking on this. Decent card, but I'm not really a big fan of it. I actually took it out of my list. Let's go ahead and continue. We got Rego Kingdom Come. This is a 3, removes anything on the field. I don't care what list you're running. This is one of our main source of body removal for higher end characters. That's anything over a 9 or anything over an 8 really. Drops 9 and 10, we really struggle removing those from the field, so Kingdom Come that's what it's really used for. Anything lower than 8 and lower, Katakuri could take care of it, but like I said earlier, this is just a staple. I shouldn't have talked too much about it. The card that's been actually very, very mint is Amaru. A lot of people say this is a going for game card. I really just don't like this card to keep it a stack, because a lot of times I try to use this out of life, and when I use this out of life, I'm getting rid of 2 cards from my hand. I'm not a fan of that. It is good for game, but the need of this card long term is really gone down just because we have gotten so many bigger bodies in the form of Ace for attacking. Okay, so you know, you guys can still use Amaru, but in my opinion, I completely cut Amaru from my list. So the last card that's in this list that's actually probably the most broken yellow card in the game for an event has to be You're the One That Should Disappear. Very, very broken card. I just have to keep it a stack of you. Being able to gain 3,000 by discarding one other card from your hand is broken, but what's really broken is out of life. If you have 0 life cards, put the top card of your deck onto your life pile, then trash 1 card from your hand. So you only need to trash 1 card from your hand if this is the last card in life. And if you actually get this out of your last life with the Enel, it actually stacks. So instead of getting 1 life, you get 2 lives if this was your last life and you activate Enel's whole entire ability. So very, very good card. I feel like this is the best event in the game for Enel players. And let's go ahead and just get straight into the strat for this particular deck list. We're gonna have a couple of deck lists here. Oh, not a couple, but just 2. This is, like I said, this is the YouTube special. This is how you play. First turn, you really just want to go ahead. First turn, probably say first, second, third, or fourth turn, you really just want to try to see your flampies and just keep on spamming out this flampies so you can get the 1 to 2 life, mainly 1 life. Turn 5, you want to go on a ďauⱠⱠ if you end up getting bricked up on higher end cards. Once you get to turn 6, you could use this Regu, but a lot of times you don't really need to use it unless you have some big crazy body on the field, or if they're using a purple deck and they just spam their Dawn out, so they're really on turn 8 or 9 while you're on turn 6. But a lot of times when you get to turn 6, you might just want to spam out this right here, this Pair Sparrow. Because if you do end up going second, when you do go second, the only card you really can use is Flampy, a Pair Sparrow, or maybe a ďauⱠⱠ. But if a lot of times if you get to the point where you're going second, you might not use the ďauⱠⱠ because you already attacked life a couple times, so you might just want to go into Pair Sparrow. Once you go to turn 7, 8, and 9, 7, 8, and 9, you probably want to summon this right here. 8, you want to summon this. Maybe you have a ďauⱠⱠ on the board and you want to put this back, or you can really just put back an Anami if you maybe you summoned it earlier in the game and can just pop anything out of life. Katakuri, very good card for turn 8 or 7 plays, but like I said, for turn 7 you guys could use this. A lot of times they're just going to give you a life, they're not trying to trash a life, so you just get an extra form of life manipulation. When you get to late game, you know, like I said earlier, like when it comes to Yamato and Ace, it really just depends what's on the field. If they have a blocker and you just want to clear for board, you really just want to go for Yamato. I see a lot of people just spamming Flampy and going straight into Ace. That's completely wrong. Ace is your late game cleaner. You usually never want to go on Lace off rip. I said Lace, Ace off rip. Ace, as you can see in all my videos, is used to end games. Fact, not an opinion. I see a lot of people, like I said earlier, just summon this because it's an Ace and you get a life. No, if you have a Yamato in hand, this is what you really want to be using. Clear board, get some board control, and once you feel like you're ready to go for game or to apply extra pressure, then that's when you can go into the Ace. You need to learn how to really use this Ace properly, because if you misplay your Ace and they end up removing it and you don't have another one while you have some of these other big bodies on field that you could have went into, you possibly might just lose the game. Fact, not an opinion. When we look at some of these other cards, you use ďauⱠⱠ turn 5 VR going first. Very good card, removes anything on the field. During turns 1 to 4, you could summon this and then go to leader for a banish. If you're not playing black, this pretty much cripples a lot of decks out there. And also, if you do summon this on the early game, like I said earlier, and then you could just go into Katakuri, you could put Anami back into the life, be able to pop anything 5 cost lower. This goes for the same for this as well. It all depends on what you see out of your life and triggers, okay? And then if you're actually going for late game, like I said earlier, you probably want to be going for this and the Amaru. Amaru should be the last thing you should be going for damage if you are trying to get like to a 9 or 11k so they can't counter out of it. And yeah, y'all, that's pretty much the deck list for this high-end version of this build. I'm not a fan of this high-end version. I'm really not a fan of this high-end version because you can brick so much. It's annoying. I like something that's a little bit more consistent on the low end, mid game, and high end. I pretty much have something for everything. So, you know, enough of this talking. Let's go ahead and get into this Shiest List that I ended up, you know, cooking up for the past 3 months, gang.
I got my own if I don't need security in the club. All they wolfing on the neck, nigga. I thought you was a thug.
So this is the shiesty ass list that we have. Yes sir, hype in the chat. This is the Shiest List that I ended up coming up with. As you guys can see, I'm not really using too many big bodies. Okay, let's go ahead and get straight over to the content. Okay, I'm running Enel, of course, because he's the best leader in the game. We are in a 2 Flampy, and the main reason why we're using 2 Flampy because late game Flampy is low-key kind of trash. I really don't want to be using Flampy late game to take away my life. I would rather use a Hiyori, and that's the reason why we are using this Hiyori right here, because late game Hiyori is actually broken. If it's late game, I could put a Cracker in the life, I could put Anami in the life, I could put Kiku in the life, I could put any of these crazy cards into life, I could put Frankie in the life, I could put Luffy in the life, I could even put my Yu, the one that should disappear, into life. So Hiyori late game is actually broken. It's the reason why it's still $15 to $20 for the base version of this card, and that's the reason why I felt like a 2-2 split. See this on One Piece top decks for a minute now, where they just do a 2-2 split, and I tried it out, and this is probably the best combination that I've seen when it came to Flampy and a Hiyori. If you run 4 Hiyori, you miss out on the draw, and if you run 4 Flampy, you miss on the late game opportunity of being able to put anything back with the power of Hiyori. So these two 2-2 split. Next thing I have is ďauⱠⱠ. ďauⱠⱠ is for your black matchups. Black is your weakest matchup out of any other matchup in the game, and being able just to have this on the field, more than likely they never are going to try to attack or remove this. And once you get used to using Shirahoshi, you'll realize how much of a nuisance it can be, just that presence of having the blocker on the field. And if you try to remove it, if it's not bottom decking, I'm getting an extra life. Very, very good. And also for the early game, allows you to turn 2, just go ahead and use this, or even turn 3, you can summon this, and then you can summon a Flampy. You get me? So very, very good card. Another card that I'm a really big fan of is Cracker. Cracker is one of the best cards in the deck, if not the best card in the deck, because it demands an answer. Cracker demands an answer. If you have Cracker on field, you already start at 4 life, so you're already lower than a majority of the decks that you are playing against. If you summon this Cracker, especially at a trigger, when it's your turn, you're taking 2 life. This is another way to cancel games out fast and just apply so much pressure. The opponent doesn't want to see a Cracker on the field. Cracker actually cracked 2 attacks, pretty much a baby Yamato. And on top of that, when it gets an extra Don, I get an extra bump to his attack. So instead of putting 1 Don, he's 6, he's really 7k. And just to have a 7k, they're gonna have to give me at least 2 cards. If you put 2 more Don, they're gonna have to give me 4 or 5 cards. So Cracker, one of the best cards in the game. Fact, not an opinion. You'll be seeing that in a lot of my gameplay videos on the channel later on. Shirahoshi, I already talked about why Shirahoshi was so broken. I already talked about Katakuri. Beige is very, very good. Only difference between this list and the last list is that late game you can actually summon Hiyori, put Beige in the life, and you pretty much stop the whole attack. Yamato is the same way, but I'm only running 3. When I ended up running 4, I just, like I said earlier, I just keep bricking on bullshit, and I'm getting tired of bricking on high end, especially if they are playing against something like a green body or a boa, where they just freeze your characters. Last thing you want to do, summon all these big beaters and then just get frozen because you can't use them because of other cards effects. So that's the reason why I'm running 3. I feel like I only need 3 Gadachus, just for the simple fact that we do have a couple of Luffy's and Onamis in our deck. In late game, Gadatsu is actually trash. I mean, Gadatsu is really only good for turns 1 through 6, so having 4 is almost a waste. Once you see these off a draw or out of life, and in your late game, you're really only using it for a counter, especially if they have anything lower than 2 life. Majority of the time, this card is really only good, like I said earlier, 1 to 6 turn 1 to turn 6. The only time this card is good. Same thing with the Onami. Onami is really good, but I ended up just breaking on it a little too much. I feel like this ratio of 3-3 is where you need to be. Another thing I've seen that a lot of people have cut is Kikanuju. This is also an error. I feel like this is actually needed for the time being, just because out of trigger you can just do so many shiesty ass plays with this Kikanuju. You can summon this turn 4, next turn after that, if they don't remove it, it's on the field, attack, and then by it's time for you to bring out this Katakuri, if you are on even curve, you attack and then you just put Kikanuju back, so you can end up cycling it back over and over again. And then also, when it is destroyed, it doesn't matter how it's destroyed, it's sent to the trash, you automatically get a life if the opponent has 3 or less life. Very, very good card. I'm only running 3 because, like I said earlier, I do not want a brick. I want everything flowing perfectly fine. Hiyori, I already discussed Hiyori. I already discussed Frankie. I already discussed Monkey D. Luffy. I already discussed Ace, and this is another change we have right here, is this Ace. When it comes to ending games, this might be one of the most powerful cards in your deck. Fact, not an opinion. A lot of people are almost thrown off at the fact that I can bring a 5 cost 7k beater that can attack right when I summon it. I mean, the only other card that can do that is Kid and Killer and Red Purple Law, and you see how so much praise and glory there is about that card. So this is pretty much a Kid and Killer for our deck. Just for some reason, a lot of people aren't playing it. They'll rather play the high end stuff and sit there and wait for a whole turn. I want to be able to attack at all angles. I want to be able to have pressure in the beginning of the game, mid game, and late game. If you just wait till late game, if they already have a board established, a lot of times, like, you're going to lose the game. You get what I'm saying? Like, I'm not a fan of the big higher ends. I want to play the game at every point of the game. Any chance I can summon and apply pressure, I want to do that, and Ace does exactly that. But everything else in a nutshell is pretty much the same. But this is my Shiest list I've been using. This is what I found the most success with, to be honest with you guys. Let's go ahead and just get into the early game with this list. A lot of times I like going second with this deck, and the main reason why is this: first turn, let's say you're going second, you go with Shirahoshi first turn with your 2 Don. Second turn, you might have a Cracker and a Hiyori in your hand. Some of the Hiyori, put put the Cracker back at the top of life, or put the Kiku at the top of life, or put an Onami back at the top of life, or put a Shiroroshi back at the top of life. Hiyori opens up so much tools that you could possibly use depending on what your hand and board state is. It's actually insane. Turn 6, you could either go for Gadatsu, you can go for, you know, the ace, we can go the Shiroroshi if your hand is really bricked up that bad. But a lot of times you really just want to go for the ace, the Gadatsu shit, or you can just go for the Cracker, put out the Shiroroshi, or if you want to be on some shy shit, go on the Flampy. I mean, there's so many ways to play the early game, and that's the reason why I like this list the most. It's just there's so many options for you to do. You're just not sitting there until turn 6, 7, and 8 until you play the game and hoping you just draw a Flampy. I feel like that's a trash way to play it, just playing super IN, because this allows you to have pressure, board control, and everything that's in between with this type of list that I am running. You're going to be seeing this list played all throughout all my videos when I'm showing you guys how to beat all these different decks. And yeah, this is probably one of the best versions for the early game that Enel can provide, especially with this ace. There's so many different plays you could do, but you also want to see one of these cards or a couple of these cards in your hand when it comes to turn 1 to turn 6. Okay, when we actually talk about late game is almost kind of similar. Nothing has really changed. Only thing that's really changed for the late game is really the Hiyori plays. It's really just the Hiyori plays, because the Hiyori plays is actually crazy late game. Late game, if they have something that they need to be removed and you have a Regu, you can summon this, put Regu in life, and you know, once your life gets tagged, you can get rid of the blocker. I mean, you could put the Kiku there, you could put the Capone there, you could put you're the one that should disappear there. I mean, there's so many different cards just to put in your life late game with Hiyori. It's actually insane. And a lot of times, if you could put a Capone into life, right? If you could put Capone into life late game, more likely you will be winning. But the game, late game for this deck is pretty much the same to late game for the other deck. Try to save ace for the late game. That should be the very last card you go into to apply pressure. And then after you apply pressure, if you just need to close out the game, go into this ace and put 5 more Don on him, putting him at 13. So very good, very good card. A lot of people are sleeping on these cards, but yeah, man, this is pretty much my Shiest list. That's what you're supposed to do late game, early game, and also for the YouTube, you know, rent a deck list. But this is my list, y'all. This is the list that I've came up with for over 1,000 hours played, and what I've just played against with the meta. No times off, and a lot of different new gameplay videos of how to beat with Enel will be coming out. Next video I will be having out is how to beat Green Bonnie. Green Bonnie is actually a problem for this deck. It's really hard, especially with Hawkins. So that's gonna be my next video and coming out in a couple of days. But yeah, y'all, this is my list. I hope this guide helped. And yeah, y'all, that's all I got. Shout out to all my delinquents. YGOD, Yellow Gang or Die. You know, tap in. And yeah, man, I'll see you guys in the next one. But before I go, if you was feeling the vibes, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And I'm gone.